Ankh and Ma'at, Ankh and Ma'at, Ankh and Ma'at. I hope you are doing well. Greetings. Greetings. Ankh and Ma'at to you. Come on in. Greetings. I'm glad to be here with you for Kemetic Ascension, Ankh and Ma'at. Ankh and Ma'at, please come on in. I see that we have some folks coming in. Ankh and Ma'at to Afromantic, coming to us from California. Ankh and Ma'at. Ankh and Ma'at to Anthony Jones, who is always here with us, coming to us from Houston, Texas. Ankh and Ma'at to you all. Ankh and Ma'at. I'm looking forward to spending this Sunday with you. This first Sunday after the spring equinox. Ankh and Ma'at, Ankh and Ma'at. Ankh and Ma'at. I'm so pleased that you're here. And I should go ahead and start by saying that this is the first Sunday after the spring equinox, but I usually am in Central Park at the Tekken to do a celebration for the equinox, and I was unable to do it this year. It was really unusual. I actually got as close to the Tekken as I possibly could. I was by myself, so I was carrying lots of heavy things, and they were filming there. And so I was refused entrance. And after parking my car, I even got a ticket. it was really a really bizarre Friday. So for those of you who are looking to see the Shrine of Ma'at for the spring solstice, I actually have to restore Ma'at with you. I really wanted to do the celebration, but that just didn't happen. Um, and I was even trying to see um, where it had been announced that the Tekken was going to be closed. I didn't see any signs. I had walked all the way into the park, didn't see anything. It was just, listen, it was bizarre. I'm still not sure why it was parked or how that actually happened, but it was closed. So I wasn't able to get to the Tekken. And then after having all those things, I was really loaded down. If you've ever seen me go to the Tekken in Central Park for the solstices, I have a bunch of stuff just carrying it. And so I had all this stuff in my hand. I was told I couldn't get to the Tekken. First, they told me I had to wait. So I was kind of waiting. Then they told me I couldn't get there. I said, oh boy, I need to go lighter. Let me just put some of the stuff back at the car. I got back to the car. They were trying to tow it, and I had a ticket. Why? Because that area was taken for filming. This has never happened before. It was just one of those Fridays. And so for those of you who are waiting for us to go live for the spring equinox, I restore balance with you. I'm so sorry I wasn't able to. It wasn't for a lack of trying, but we'll talk about the spring equinox today, as this is the first Sunday after the spring equinox. Ankh and Ma'at to all of you. Ankh and Ma'at to Shenka, Show Nuff of Kemet. That is one of our very active members who runs prayer for the shrine on Sundays. Ankh and Ma'at to you. Dwa, dwa, dwa. I just noticed that some of you were trying to, I have not been on Facebook other than yesterday. I made my first post in a very long time, and I saw that some of you were trying to reach me. This week, let's try to make sure that we're able to regroup and do the things we need to do. Shenkai, you were one of them. So I haven't been looking at Facebook very much at all. Ankh and Ma'at to Anjay Bryant, who is always here with us, Ankh and Ma'at to you. Dwa for coming to us from New Jersey, I believe. Ankh and Ma'at. I know you're near Philly, but I think you're actually in New Jersey, if I remember correctly. Ankh and Ma'at to Herusar, Ankh Amun Ra, coming to us from Dallas, Texas. Always here. Ankh and Ma'at to Taseti, who is coming to us from Denver, Colorado. I'm not sure who is the furthest away yet. I see Taseti coming to us from Denver. I know that the first person here is coming to us from California, Afromantic. Not sure which one's the furthest away, but both of those are pretty far. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Ankin Ma'at Naima Ra, who is always here with us. Ankin Ma'at to you. Ankin Ma'at. Ankin Ma'at to Miss Bonita, who is always here as well. I hope you are doing well. Ankin Ma'at to Ardent Plumbing. I'm not sure if I know Ardent Plumbing. Are you new? Ankin Ma'at to you. I see you're coming to us from Dallas, Texas. There are quite a few people who come to us from Texas. I know Texas is large. I know it's large, but I wonder, are most people coming from around the Texas area? We need to go to Texas. I am just beginning to do lectures, tours, and the like again. You may know that I have been doing quite a bit in my life that has kept me away from the internet, including attempting to have offspring. As you know, that I don't have children yet, and I dearly want children. It has been a ride. More on that for some of you who are very, very close and know what I'm referring to. Ankin to Tianis Tillman. Ankin Ma'at to you, who is always here. Ankin Ma'at. Sanet Shenkad, did you remember my birthday? Ankin Ma'at, I am so honored that you remember that. It is on Wednesday, and it looks like we'll be going out. My wife is putting together something on Saturday. In fact, she even said to me, I don't see any of your shrine members here. If any of you are around the New York City area on Saturday or are willing to come to the New York City area, please text me, because she was concerned that she didn't have a full accounting of the people that I would want at a birthday celebration. And she's correct. So if any of you are going to be around the New York City area around Saturday, please let me know. I would love for you to be there. We're going to be at the restaurant that is known as Vina Terra in Harlem at 3 p.m. And we would love for you to be there. It's the same place where we got engaged. And so we would love for you to be there as well. Ankenmata hanging around. Amsterdam Baba. Are you in Amsterdam? Is that what you're saying, hanging around? That's pretty far away. That would be the most furthest person in Kemetic Ascension today. Ankin Ma'at to you. I'm not familiar with that handle. So please, if you're someone that we're familiar with or have seen before, let us know. Ankin Ma'at to you. There is So Chosen 7. And I'm glad that she realized that I'm going to see So Chosen and say, I know that somebody. Who is it? It is Sadet Oye, who has been a long time active member of the Shrine of Ma'at, coming to us from Philly. Ankin Ma'at to you, dear Sanet, one of our full and active members. Ardent Plumbing says, no, this is just business page. Oh, Kepar Kaheru Jehutimes. Ankin Ma'at to you. Ankin Ma'at to you. Did I know you have a plumbing business? Did I know that? I don't think so. Ankin Ma'at to you. I'm so glad that you're there. And yes, Anjai says, South Jersey, right outside of Philly. The last time I saw you was in Philly. You said you're proud to say that you are now, I never put the comments on the screen. I need to do that better. Proud to say you are now a FINRA registered investment advisor. Wonderful, and congratulations for that. Congratulations for your work. That is amazing. And if there are some things that you want to speak to the community about, you have been here pretty much from day one. Brother Anjay, you've always been here. If there's some things you think that we need to know, perhaps we can set something up separately so that you can speak to the Shrine of Ma'at community, because all of us need to figure out how we're going to feed our families, and more important, when we're talking about investments, secure our retirement and our families after the time that we leave this mortal coil. So please let us know. Ankin Ma'at to Shrine of Sekhmet. You know that is a Butsashat. Y'all should know that a Butsashat prefers to be called a Butsashat and not Hemet Neter a Sashat. You should know. And because someone texted me and said, why are you calling her a Butsashat? Didn't she complete initiation? Yes, she did. But the reality is that self-determination is important. She's more comfortable with that title. There's nothing in our tradition that says that the title of Boot is technically lower or higher than the title Hemet Neter. So just understand that she chose that title and that's the one we'll use. Okay, it's that simple. She is an active priestess of the Shrine of Ma'at, and you should know that. And she's also putting together and doing things with her Shrine of Sekhmet. You should know as well. So that's a Boot Sashat. One of my, I'd like to say that I knew her before she was even involved in the shrine, and I am honored to call her a friend as well. Even though we argue with each other, and she knows that that's true, we be arguing. I myrrh her more than I can say. Ankh Ma'at to Sarabi Queen. Dwa, dwa, dwa. It's wonderful to see you, Ankh Ma'at. I see Tiana Tillman says, I should do a tour here in Texas. Can I say that I have done so little in Texas? I can only say I think I've been to Texas 2 or 3 times, and I'm usually there for a conference. I pop in and pop out, but there are so many of our people in that state. I know that it's far flung, so people are all over the place, but I would love to do more in the South, and particularly in Texas, one of the largest states in the United States. Ankh Ma'at to send Jason Holmes, one of our full and active members, very active members, and a brother who is just as passionate about history as I am. Ankh Ma'at, it's good to see you there, dear son, one of our full members. Ankh Ma'at, and I see hanging around is coming to us from Amsterdam. Ankh Ma'at to you. You are the furthest away. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I see Senatan, one of our other full and active members, coming to us from Chicago. Senatan, I know that we are due for a conversation, but I really need to have a conversation with you sooner, because I may be asked to do some things in Chicago in July. So I want to link up with you, and maybe we can do some things together in person. It's been a while since I've seen you in person. I would love to see you in person. So maybe we can do some things together in July. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Ankh Ma'at to you. Just in time, Ankh Ma'at coming out of Philly. Ankh Ma'at to you. I see your private security sector. So I teach firearms and personal safety stuff. Wow. I know that there are many, many, many folks who are actually doing lots of firearm and self-defense training in the Kemetic community. I just happen to not be one of them. And I'm not exactly, I've just been so busy that it just hasn't been something I've been able to take up. But definitely it doesn't mean that I'm not interested. There are shrines that a lot of their members are, they have their concealed carry permit. So it's interesting that you're doing that, Brother Tianis. And hopefully, there are more of us that will do that as well, because we do need to make sure that we know what we're doing when we need to protect our families and our community. It's that simple. You have more work to do. A Butsashat, we all have more work to do. Every single one of us has more work to do. And so I get it. I don't think many knew. It's been Ardent Plumbing is saying, I don't think many knew. It's been highlighted a few times through the Happy Networks. I've been on a few trips with them. Yeah, it's wonderful. We need people who are able to do the technical things we need to do to ensure that our homes are safe and that their integrity is secured. So we need those people who are the electricians, the plumbers, the carpenters, the architects, the folks that are able to ensure that the places that we live are secure are really important. So dua to you for doing that work. Johnny Johnson from El Paso, Texas, Ankin or Juarez, Ankin Ma'at to you, Ankin Ma'at. Ankin Ma'at to Pamela Green Bryant, one of our full members, Ankin Ma'at to you. I see Abutsashat says, Hemet and Tepi and Bara and Hemet and Tepi and Nika have those titles. When you're more seasoned, you'll go by Hemet. I get that. I do. And yes, they do use those titles. Yeah, they're more seasoned, but maybe you should ask yourself how long they've been using those titles. That might be another way to look at it as well. So when the elders in the community say it's so, okay, that's work. Let's work. Please, let's talk. Magnetisms, Ankin Ma'at, and it's not Happy Belated Earth Day. Sanet Shenkar recognizes that my birthday is coming up. It's actually on Wednesday, is when my birthday is, and so she recognized it and wished me a happy early solar return. It's coming up. I'm getting older. And my back shows it. Avutsa shot, yes. Jabari's my brother, and we argue because we love our community, have to get things done. Yes, absolutely. There's nothing but myrrh and between us, and I know that's clear as well. Haven't seen you in a while. We need to figure out how to grab dinner or something, perhaps when you're closer to New York City. I know you're coming out of Connecticut. I'm not sure if you ever get to New York City much anymore, but please let me know when you do. Let's see. If you recognize the man on the cross and the living on, just join your hands above your head in a circle. Oh, I see what you're saying, Johnny Johnson. Sometimes those things are certainly imbued within us. The power of these divine symbols are imbued within us. And I would argue that our Kemetic ancestors recognize that, our West African ancestors recognize that. If you look at the similarities between the Aquaba doll and the Ankh, those are absolutely recognizable and important as well. Ankin Ma'at to Samaj Limba, one of our full members. Ankin Ma'at to you. Ankin Ma'at to Paul Monch. Tuning in from Malawi. Okay, that's the furthest away. Malawi is the furthest away today. Welcome. And I wonder, I don't think I recognize your handle. I'm wondering if this is the first time you're here. Let's see. Yes, the boot should never stop hitting the ground. Yes, Sanet. Oh yeah, we have work to do. Absolutely. Chris Connor says that camera is immaculate, brother. Crystal clear. Is it really? That's good to hear, because occasionally I would do Kemetic Ascension from my laptop, and there have been a few times I have neglected to carry a camera. And while I love my laptop, it works really well, I think the camera is not great. So I'm here in Queens today as opposed to being in Harlem. You know, I'm between Harlem and Queens in New York. And this camera is a really good one, this Logitech here. So, it's good to hear. Let's see. There's several areas in the Grand Canyon that have many Kemetic cities in Arizona. Factoid: I don't know whether I agree that the Grand Canyon has Kemetic artifacts in it. I've heard that many times. I've attempted to investigate it. I am a skeptic on that. I would love for someone who believes that they have any sort of definitive proof of that to share it with me. Definitely. Proper Perspective says you have that same background. Perhaps that's an investment background. That's great. Wonderful. And I'm glad, and congratulations. The reason why I'm offering that to Brother Anjay is because he is, while he's not an initiated member of the shrine, he has been part of Kemetic Ascension, I think, almost since day one. So he's been here and we know him. So certainly Proper Perspective, if you want to do something, you should speak with Anjay. I would let him lead that kind of conversation. So definitely we would have that conversation. Brother Tiana says, thank you for having me. They need for more less lethal technology, firearms, personal safety. Yeah, definitely that's something we should talk about. Wiser. I'm getting wiser. I hope that's true. I hope that's true. As I'm getting older, I hope that's true. Amir Fit Life. Will there be a shrine initiation this year? The answer has to be yes. I'm still trying to figure out when. I lead initiation, and I have to say to you that life has been very complex. I wish I could explain everything here. It just wouldn't be appropriate. But I'll just say to you the process of trying to have a child has not been as easy as I would have liked it to be. So we're going through all those things to make sure that we do that. And it is taking lots of time. And in addition to that, then there's still all of the work I'm doing at Hunter College and so on and so on. There will be initiation, and I believe that it should begin and be held on Mondays, but I'm trying to pin down when that will be. When my schedule is clear, I'll speak to those people in the shrine who will be assisting with that, and bringing it into existence. So it's not a decision I would make on my own, unilaterally either. There are several people in the shrine that would be assisting, and I need to talk to them about what my schedule looks like so we're able to make clear. I'm talking about people like Abut Sashad and Sanet Shen Ka, and there are many people who are saying we need to have to assist with how the shrine runs. And they're all here, by the way. They're always here. The Senaton and definitely Sen Jason and the Jati of Phoenix, all who is William Humphrey. All of those people are people who are going to be doing some of the heavy lifting for some of the things that the internet. I want to be clear that if I've not mentioned one of you, trust me, it's because I'm negligent, not because I have any challenges with that. But several of you have approached and said, "Let's make it work," and so I don't want to forget any of you because you're always here. And if I don't mention your name, you might say, "Oh, why did Jabari not mention my name?" Simply because that question was unexpected, and so I'm trying to make sure I let people know that the shrine is going to be working to make sure that that happens. So we'll be doing that soon. Yes, you will be hearing something about that soon. We got a big group here following the shrine since the DVD days. Really? Wow, wonderful. Thank you, hanging around. I did not know that. That's good to know. That's good to know. Ankh to Jose Francis. Yes, and Johnny Johnson, I don't know if you were here when I said this, but I have to say to you and to all of you, since more of you are here now, the shrine usually has a celebration for the equinoxes and the solstices. And I knew that I would be doing that on my own this Friday when the equinox occurred. And I lugged all the stuff to Central Park just to be stopped by essentially security and the police and told that they were doing some filming at the Tech-In, which was very odd to me, particularly because I usually tried to check those things and I did not see anything. And they told me I had to wait first, and I waited for nearly an hour, and then they told me I would not be able to use it at all. I have no idea what happened. But I also went back to the car and had a ticket because they said it was for filming. So now there's all kinds of crazy stuff going on. I attempted to have something for the equinox, and it just didn't happen. So we'll talk about the equinox today as best we can. Okay. And I see Ankin Ma'at to Sakina Ra, Ankin Ma'at to you. It's wonderful to see you here, one of our full members and active members. What is the Cash App? I'm glad when you all tell me that because I often forget to put it up. The Cash App is $Ma'at Shrine. And I'm typing it in the chat. That is the Cash App. If you donate, it would be very, very helpful. As you've heard me say on many occasions, we don't do this for money, but we need money to do it. It does cost something to run the shrine. And for the most part, those costs, they're not exorbitant, but we do need your assistance to make sure that those costs are covered. That is very important. Check my phone. Okay. Yes, I do owe you a phone call. She said, check your phone. You owe me a phone call. Yes, I do. You could have typed that here, Abut Sashad. Yes, you're right. I do owe you a phone call. I do. It's very true. It's very, very true. There are a bunch of people that I own phone calls to, and you are at the top of the list. And so yes, we should. Ankh and Ma'at to Curtis Penn. Let's see, who else have I not? Siba Obali, that's Sen Orikuku. Ankin Ma'at, one of our full and active members. Ankin Ma'at to you. I'm glad that you are here. I'm so glad that you're here. Ankin Ma'at to Naba Sage Elmore, who is one of our full members, and we are honored that he's here. Ankin Ma'at to you. And I'm so pleased that you're all here. Let me just go ahead and say, Dwa, I'm so happy that we're here. I see, please, can we talk is about the reunion? PBRY 99. I don't know who that is. Are you talking about, maybe you're talking about the reunion of Shrine folks this summer? Yes, we can talk. I don't know who that is, though. We need to talk. There are a few folks that are, I know that you're trying to put something together, and we need to have a conversation about the reunion, definitely, that you're trying to do this summer, as I really want to be there. So we have to try to make that work. My schedule is kind of mercurial because of, I don't want to say more about what I'm doing, but I've said enough here already about what I'm doing. Sometimes I think that my Pamela Bright, yes, Ankin Ma'at to you, and you've been trying to reach out to me. I didn't recognize that handle. We need to talk about the reunion. So I promise I will give you a call this week. I promise. You are due for a call as well. And part of the challenge that I have is that my calendar is not entirely my own, but we should still talk to see if I can figure out what things will look like. In a conversation, in a more private conversation, I'll explain why. Okay, let's just say that and leave it there before I get myself in trouble. Ankin Ma'at to Vincent Brewster. Ankin Ma'at to you. Ankin Ma'at to Taekwon Colbin from Flint, Michigan. Ankin Ma'at, Ankin Ma'at, Ankin Ma'at to all of you. I am so honored that you're here for Kemetic Ascension. Dua for being here. Let me go ahead and say that I would like to have any of you that would like to come in and do the opening of the way for us. You know that the opening of the way, I'm putting the link to the StreamYard in the chat. The opening of the way is the manner that our shrine ancestor, who was I'd call him our ancestor elder, because he played the role of the elder, but now he is an ancestor. Baba Heru Ankh Ra Samad Sepata, who was the convener, the founder of the Shrine of Ptah, that is our root shrine, put this very important ceremony ritual into practice. And I must say to you that I'm truly hoping that we will continue to keep this practice alive. It is the ceremony that reminds us that we are more powerful than we understand, that we are made of star stuff, that in fact, we are those individuals who are part of the divine force. And by being part of the divine force, you can consider that we have all of the rights and responsibilities of the divine, all of the powers as well as the divine. And so this is something that we should understand and become present to as we become overwhelmed, as we become disempowered by those things that afflict us, that challenge us on a daily basis. I know that I often feel challenged by my calendar, challenged by the things that I need to do. I know that I'm not the only one that feels that way. Doing the opening of the way will help you remember just how powerful you are. And so hopefully you will do the opening of the way as our ancestor elder Baba Heru taught us to do. You'll do it before you do anything important. And certainly each day is important. So please let us do the opening of the way. Is anyone going to come in to do the opening of the way? I notice that because Jehuti Ma'at Ra is not here, it seems that no one else is coming in. Come on now. Who's going to come in and do the opening the way of the way for us, for our Kemetic Ascension gathering? It is important. I could do it myself, but I would rather not do that. So please come on in and do the opening of the way with us. This is a way for us to keep this tradition alive as described by our elder, our ancestor elder, Baba Heru Ankh Ra Samaj Sepatan. You may remember that this tradition connects the movements, the names of the divine forces that protect our viscera, protect our organs, and are connected to the cardinal points. We're going to talk a little bit about the cardinal points today. So this will hopefully help you understand that we are the universe. That we are the universe in microcosm. And that allows us to do more things that we are aware of. But the challenge that each of us has is that we are limited by those faculties that we have been given. You know, those five senses that we rely on so much, right? Seeing, feeling, smelling, tasting, and touching. Did I miss one? Feeling and touching is the same. What did I say? Seeing, hear, our eyes, our ears, our ability to touch things, our ability to smell things. I think I missed taste things. These things make us think that the world is limited to those things that we can perceive physically. And that is a major challenge. So we need to be able to ensure that we are able to see ourselves as much more infinite than these physical bodies betray us into believing. And so I'm hoping that you will do the opening of the way. Let's do this. I'm going to do it here. Please be sure that this means that you should stand along with me. Remember, this is not theater. I'm not doing this for you to see. We're supposed to be doing it together. I truly believe that something else occurs when you do this together. So please stand with me. And as you stand upright, just put your left foot a bit further forward than your right foot, almost as if you're about to shift your weight to begin to walk. But just put that left foot forward and then expose your hands in front of you. And as you expose your hands in front of you, you can put the left hand a bit further forward than the right hand. With that, what you should do is begin as you're standing. First, let me let you know that this is generally called the pose of adoration. You will see it on temple walls. You will see this pose like this on temple walls. You'll see it etched in stone. You'll see it drawn on papyrus. And recognize that the right hand can be a little bit further lower than the left hand as well. And we should begin by chanting the word of life. And then from there, we will go to each of the cardinal points, recognizing the divine force that protects that cardinal point, and in tandem protects our organs. This reminds us that we are the cardinal points. I know that our worlds can feel so much limited by its physicality, limited by what we can perceive, but it is broader, it is wider than that. So let us begin. Take your breath and chant the word of life. And I know there's going to be a delay. Since no one's coming on, I want you to type the name of the divine force that we are going to be featuring at each of the cardinal points. So let's do it that way, since some of you are being camera shy today. So we start by saying Anecharak, which means show me your face. And who was that first deity that we asked to show our face? Anecharak in Bethet, Nuke in Bethet. So Inbethet is the divine protectress that assists us in this. And then who do we ask for? Anetra Kapi, Nu Kapi, Twal Winter. I'm not seeing any typing. Is that the delay? Or are you all just watching me do this? I hope that you are doing more. Okay, Taekwon Coleman is doing some. Yes. And then we have Hapi as the male force. And then we say Anetrak in Bedhet, Nuke in Bedhet, Netrak Hapi, Nuke Hapi, and we say Twal Winter. Thank you to the divine. And then we make our turn to the right. Who is it next that we speak to? Who do we speak to next? Is someone going to write? Dua Tashenka for typing. I know there's a delay, so this is awkward. But who is next? Serket, yes. Anetrok Serket. Nuke Serket. I am Serket. Show me your face, Serket. I am Serket. And then it is Anetrok Kebsenuf. Nuke Kebsenuf. That is the male entity after that deity. And I see that some of you are typed Serket. Wonderful. Now we're going to go to the other side, right? Now we go to the other side. We're literally, if we were facing east here or north, depending on which version of the opening the way you're doing, now we're facing either south or east. So now we say Anecharak Ast, Nuke Ast, Anecharak Amset, Nuke Amset, Twau Inter. Make your right turn. Now who are we recognizing? So we have Ast, we have Amset and Ast. Now who are we going to? Come on now. Who's next? Amset, Ast and Amset. Yes, we have Anecharak Neat, Nuke Neat, Anecharak Dwamutef, Nuke Dwamutef, Twal Winter. Now we go back to front. Who else are we going to do now? We've already gone all the way around, right? So now we are going to recognize the divine power of the heavens, that lady of the heavens, Anetrok Newt, Nuke Newt. And now we're going to recognize her divine husband, Geb, Geb of the earth. And we bend here and we go Anetrok Geb. I always tap the floor 3 times, but that's how I do it. Nuke Geb, Twal Winter. We stay here now. And now we're going to recognize those powerful elements of the universe, the one of moisture and the one of the wind. So we say, now we're switching and we're going masculine first. It was always feminine first. Now we're going masculine first, right? So we say a netrok shu, that's the masculine netter. And then we give shu to each of the cardinal points. Shu, 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 shu. Nuke shu, I am shu. And then we turn and we give tefnut to the cardinal points as well. A netrok tefnut, 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 nuke tefnut, twal inter. And then we say a netrok paut in teru, nuke paut in teru. This means Show me your face, you 10 of the Neteru, and I am them. And then you say Nechakan Buen Teru, Nuken Buen Teru. That means sort of like all of the Neteru. I am all of the Neteru. Twa Winter. Take your breath. Twa Winter. Dwa, 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 dwa. Dwa for doing the opening of the way, and some of you typing the necessary divinities that we are recognizing in the opening of the way. Dwa for doing that with me. And recognize that this ceremony is of critical importance. It allows you to center yourself on your divinity before you go out there and do battle with all of those things that seek to limit us. Before you do that, this is important. Dwa, dwa, dwa. Well, let's go into, as we call it, Hesi. And you should know that as we are doing Hesi, Hesi is critically important because it is the manner in which our Kemetic ancestors galvanized divine. Yes, she was masculine. She was masculine. We switch. I keep saying I'm going to do a whole session on the opening of the way. She was masculine, and Tefnut is the feminine. And so, yes, it switches. We first speak to the names of the protectresses usually, right? Like Ast and Inbethet and Serket. We do those first, and then we go to the masculine. But once we go past that, then we go into switching the genders, and we begin with Shu and then Tefnut. So it switches in that manner as well. I need to do more so that you all understand the opening of the way at another level. I know that for many people, learning the opening of the way becomes the focus. But when you actually dive deeper and think about what you're actually doing according to the way that our Kemetic ancestors described it, it becomes even more amazing and interesting and impactful. So we definitely need to do it more. So let's do what we always do next. Let's go into what we call Hesi. What is Hesi? Hesi is our ability to galvanize divine energy in song. That is Hesi. And we're going to draw once again. We're going to draw once again from our, I'm dating myself. I'm going to say album. Should I say CD? That's still dating. I'm still dating myself. But how do you describe this set of songs that have been put together in this form? In my head, I always say album, but I really am dating myself. But please let us draw from this and listen to one of the songs, one of the Hesi that comes out of our tradition and was put together, was mastered beautifully by that couple known as the Schaeffers. That couple that is now working in Kemet. They're working in Kemet. And so they are masterful. I'm talking about Sinet Kenya and our Sen Charles Schaeffer. They are masterful musicians. I know that they were once going to sort of work for a little while in Kemet from their home in Ghana. And I'm going to tell you, I'm sure that once they heard them in Kemet, they did not want to let them go. I know that's what happened because they are so blessed with powerful, powerful skill with regard to the creation of music. And so I know very well that that is what happened. And so they are still in Kemet. This has got to be over a year later, probably about 2 years they've been there now. So please take a listen to their rendering of one of our most spoken prayers, the Rupu prayer that we speak. Take a listen.
Rupu nuku amiku kemam keperu in interhayu anku jasene. Rupu nuku amiku kemam keperu in interhayu anku jasene. I am a shiny, shining being dwelling in the light, created from the limbs of divinity. I am a shining, shining being dwelling in the light, created from the limbs of divinity. Rupu nuku amiku kemam keperu in interhayu anku jasene. Rupu nuku amiku kemam keperu in interhayu anku jasene. I am a shiny, shining being dwelling in the light, created from the limbs of divinity. I am a shining, shining being dwelling in the light, created from the limbs of divinity. Rupu nuku amiku kemam keperu in interhayu anku jasene. Rupu nuku amiku kemam keperu in interhayu anku jasene. I am a shiny, shining being dwelling in the light, created from the limbs of divinity. I am a shining, shining being dwelling in the light, created from the limbs of divinity. Rupu nuku amiku kemam keperu in interhayu anku jasene. Rupu nuku amiku kemam keperu in interhayu anku jasene. I am a shiny, shining being dwelling in the light, created from the limbs of divinity. I am a shining, shining being dwelling in the light, created from the limbs of divinity. Rupu nuku amiku kemam keperu in interhayu anku jasene. Rupu nuku amiku kemam keperu in interhayu anku jasene. 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 Anku jasene.
Beautiful. And that is one of the prayers that you will hear us speak most regularly. That is beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I see a few other people came in. Ankan Ma'at to Robert Bunag, who's always here, coming to us from Daly City. Ankin Ma'at to you. I'm so glad that you're here. Ankin Ma'at to Clee Ford, one of our full members who is always here. I believe Clee Ford is coming to us from, is in Queens, just as I am right now. Ankin Ma'at to Jaman, who is coming to us from East London. Is Eid connected to Kemet? You know, I have been doing some more work on Islam and the traditions of Islam. And I believe that the whole concept of the fast that is used for spiritual purposes we first see it written and practiced in Kemet, right? So I would have to believe that the breaking of the fast is also connected to the Kemetic tradition. I am still doing some scholarship on how to understand the connections to Eid al-Fitr. So I'm working on it, okay? So the best answer I can give you now, Jabad, is I believe so. I know it's not necessarily a satisfying answer, but stay tuned. I will have an answer for you at some point as I'm doing more work and research. Just the other day, I was doing some reading on Islam, and I had woken up. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night and I struggle to sleep. And my wife turned over and said, "Whoa, why are you awake? What's going on? What?" And so and then she saw I was reading something on Islam. She was like, "What are you doing? Why are you reading that now?" And so it's so funny you mentioned that, because this is also something that I have been thinking about considerably, and hopefully I'll have a better answer for you in the coming months. Okay. Ankin Ma'at to Sali Yaben. Ankin Ma'at, shalom and peace to you too as well. Peace, peace, peace. Rerooted, Ankin Ma'at to you. Ankin Ma'at to Shor Tasar M. Ka, my dear priest, that brother who always did good work, about to drive, but he's listening. Ankin Ma'at to you, dear brother. I wish Asar M. Ka lived closer, because I would be chilling with him all the time. He's a really good brother, and those of you who have access to him should try to have more contact with him. There's some people in our tradition that just do good work, and that work is not just practice but also study, and he's one of those people. So I can't say enough about how important that brother is to me. Even though we have never been in the same place at the same time, we have spent a lot of time speaking online, particularly over Sonnetter. When I see him come forward, I'm always excited to see him. So Ankin Ma'at to you again. And drive safely, dear brother. Drive safely. Ankin Ma'at to Brother Pempanzi, who was there under his government name, William Stevens. Ankin Ma'at to you, dear brother. He's one of our full members coming to us out of Philadelphia. Rerooted is the sacred woman Honesty. I just said rerooted, but I would rather call you Senet Honesty. Ankin Ma'at to you. Let's see. Are there more people that I have left out? Ankin Ma'at to Thur can only be one. There can only be one. I get it. I get it. Imhotep to you. It took a little while for me to read it. I had to read it ebonically. That's right, brother. Ankin Ma'at to you. Ankin Ma'at to Steve Cadriglover. I'm sure I'm messing that up, but please receive my blessings and Ankin Ma'at to you. Coming to us from Lexington, South Carolina. Family, I would like for us to talk a little bit about the equinoxes and the solstices. I did not get to talk about that extensively in our at the equinox celebration that we would normally have. I think you heard me mention how crazy that day ended up being for me. And so we did not end up doing it, but I just want to say to you, Ankin Ma'at, and welcome, and let's think about the equinoxes and solstices. This is an important topic. As you should know, The equinoxes and solstices are those things that are moments in our year that the sun seems to do something a little different than it does on each of the other days, the other days of the year. So, what is this? Understand that as our ancient African ancestors looked at the sun, they noticed that there were certain times of the year that this a functional heavenly body that allows us to live was telling us something about how we should live. And this is important. So they noticed that on these 4 days of the year, the sun was going to do something that was notable. On the equinoxes, you should know that equinox is not just an expensive gym that requires a membership. Equinox is actually a term that refers to equal night. And so when you recognize that they're saying equal night, coming to us from the Latin, what it actually means is that on these particular days, we have an equal amount of light and darkness, an equal number of hours of moments in the sun and in the darkness. This is important because on every other day of the year, either we have more light or more darkness. And so for 2 days in the year, we have equal amount of sun and equal amount of darkness. And then on the solstices, the sun does something that I would argue is even more interesting. The sun usually rises in a slightly different place in the sky every year. You may realize that. I know that for the first time, you may know that I now am not only living in Queens, but also have a space in Harlem that I've spent probably most of my time with my wife. I was walking up the stairs to our co-op and I noticed that the sun was coming through the window in a manner that I had not seen before. Now, of course, I haven't been there for a full year, so I haven't witnessed the sun in that manner. But what was happening? The sun rises in the sky in a different place every day of the year. And because of the fact that the Earth is not, the Earth's axis is tilted, that means that sometimes the sun seems to it rises at a higher point, and so it takes a longer point for it to retreat beneath the horizon, which would mean we'd have more sun. And then other times it rises on a lower part on the horizon, which means that we have less sun. And so moving towards the summer solstice, you should know that the sun is beginning to rise a little bit higher in the sun. And then moving towards the winter solstice, the sun seems to be rising at a lower point in the sky until it gives us more darkness. And I want you to understand that as that happens, on the solstices, it seems that the sun, for about 3 days, it rises in the same part of the sky. So if you think of the sun as something that actually is vital, is a living entity, then it rising in the same part of the sky for 3 days, our ancient ancestors described this as the sun dying, particularly at the winter solstice, because at the point that it was rising at the lowest part of the sky, the sun was giving us the least amount of sun. So for each day, we're getting less and less sun. And then all of a sudden at the lowest point, it rises at the same very low point in the sky for 3 days or for 2 days. And on the third day, now all of a sudden it rises in a slightly higher point in the sky, and it begins its ascent northward again, and it gives us more sun. So that was a day that we certainly thought of the sun dying. And then on that third day, it rises in an earlier part in the sky, in a higher part of the sky. So it tells us that it has regained its vitality. This is where we get the ancient understanding of the concept of the sun dying and being resurrected on the third day. This is astrotheology. This is astrotheology. And so, from our estimation, our ancient ancestors recognized these things, described sacred myth to them, and that sacred myth told them how they should behave on the planet. But the younger people on the planet began to hear those myths, and without enough time, or honestly, maybe this is a critique of them, but I am going to wager it nonetheless, without enough humility to listen to the ancients more fulsomely, they actually began to ascribe something literal to that story. Rather than that story being mythological, rather than that story telling us about the very nature of the universe and our place in this large, this immense divine drama, instead, they said, this is about one person and what this one person did. And so then you have a story about a guy who was crucified, which is sticking someone to a cross. You could think of the movements of the sun, because those days are equidistant between the solstices and the equinoxes. You could think about that if you saw the movements of our Earth around the sun as something that was spherical. You could think of this as a cross. I think that this is where this concept came from, that the sun was crucified, died, and then rose again on the third day. This is astrotheology. It was never meant to be a literal historical story about what one dude did, a guy that had long hair and wore sandals. It was never supposed to be that. But the youngest people on the planet were not able to understand the fullest meaning of the story. That is for you, beloved, because you are the descendants of the ancients that brought these concepts to the world. You are those people who are the descendants of those people who have been thinking about how to live a divinely balanced life and wrote about how to live a divinely balanced life longer than anyone else on the planet. It is our responsibility to give clarity to these grand divine dramas. It is our responsibility. But I have found that since we have been forced into the traditions of other people, I'm being polite now, since we have found ourselves forced into their traditions, we instead defend the reductionist telling of these stories. We defend the lack of sacred understanding that our ancestors brought into the universe, because we don't even recognize that we are undermining that we are undermining ourselves, that we are speaking ill of the people that brought this knowledge into the plane, into this earth, for those people who forced us to understand something that was less than something stronger, something more in depth, and that is problematic. It is problematic to do that. So that is a challenge we have. Let me just welcome a few folks who came in since I started talking. Ankin Ma'at to Keith X Exum, who is always here. Ankin Ma'at. Ankin Ma'at to Sen Curtis Jackson, who is one of our full and active members. Ankin Ma'at to you. And I see Johnny Johnson says the sun is a god goddess, and should be worshipped as a god connected to Ptah, Sekhmet, Akhenaten. the Soraya, cosmic, divine, celestial, and ecclesiastical knowledge. Well, I mean, I think that part of the challenge is the youngest people on the planet don't understand what the essence of the universe is, and so they can only describe things in a way that is reductionist. When we say God, goddess, what do we really mean? Are we not talking about those energies that have created and pervaded and maintained the entire universe? Or are we talking about a dude sitting on a cloud with a beard? So I think that we have to get beyond the reductionist stories and recognize that we're talking about the fundamental energy that created the universe. That's what we're talking about. I also see Sanet Daria Ware, Ankan Ma'at, one of our full members. Ankan Ma'at to you, and I hope you give your sister, who is also a full member, some myrrh. Ankan Ma'at to you. Vincent Brewster says, I have something, explain this, I have been trying to get some clarity on. It is very difficult to ask. This is a very long piece. I'm not sure if I'll be able to do it justice. Please shoot me an email or something so I can try to answer it. The number 360 is not in the Bible. If so, show me. There are so many numbers related to 360. Let me explain. 120 multiplied by 3 equals 360. 120 multiplied by 1200 equals 44,000. Did 1/23 of a circle try and later become the Trinity? I'm not sure if I can answer you. Your question is a really in-depth one. It seems like it'd be better for a conversation. I know that you said it's difficult to ask because it's in-depth, right? So let's try to talk more about it. 360, I can't say that I've seen it in the Bible either, to be honest. But I want you to understand that your Kemetic ancestors recognize that 360 were the degrees in a full circle. And they also described their year as 360 days plus 5. Those are those 5. The Greeks ended up calling these 5 days the epagomenal days. These are 5 days that existed but outside of the calendar. So our Kemetic ancestors recognize that these are the days that their most sacred deities were born, and that accounts for the 365-day year. Let's be really clear. The 365-day year is an African creation. We are the ones that recognize the movements of the heavens in such precision that we were able to describe the journey around the sun as 365 days. And I don't think that many people have understood that this is what African astronomers, mathematicians gave to the world. Ankanmat to Kevin Simons, coming from Maryland. Wonderful, wonderful. And we have Sanet Shurael from ATL. Ankanmat to you, one of our full members as well. Let's continue here. I want you to take a look at this page here as we go into what we always call a word from the Sebaït. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the term Sebaït, Sebaït is the genre of literature in ancient Kemet that we could call wisdom literature. It is the literature that focuses on how to live a divinely balanced life. So let's read a little bit. This piece is from Newsweek, and it says, mysterious alignment of the Giza pyramids to cardinal points could be explained by the equinox. Had you read this? Are you familiar with this? This is from a 2019 edition, and it says, let me zoom in a little bit so you can read along with me. It says the pyramids have square bases with 4 corners. Some of them, like the famous Great Pyramid of Giza, have each corner facing a different cardinal direction: north, east, south, and west. The alignment of the Great Pyramid is nearly perfect, only 0.067 degrees counterclockwise from perfect cardinal alignment. 2 other Egyptian pyramids, Khafre, also referred to as Khephren, by the way, that's the Greek rendition of his name, and the Red Pyramid are also aligned at almost exactly the same angle, just slightly counterclockwise. Now, Glenn Dash, an electrical engineer with an interest in archaeology, has published a paper in the Journal of Ancient Egyptian Architecture explaining how ancient Egyptians were able to figure out how to line their buildings nearly perfectly to the elements. They used the fall equinox. Dash, who funds his research through his own independent charitable organization, explained to Live Science how ancient Egyptians may have figured out this alignment. Counting 91 days after the summer solstice, one can land squarely on the fall equinox. Did you hear that? Counting 91 days after the summer solstice, one can land squarely on the fall equinox. On that day, you can stick a pole in the ground and watch the shadow. This type of pole functions as a gnomon. You should know what a gnomon is. It's basically the part of a sundial that casts a shadow, as they describe here. It's the part that allows us to understand the movements of the sun. You can't just look at the sun, right? That's what Donald Trump tried to do, and probably would have burnt out his retinas if people didn't yell at him when he was doing it. Instead, what you can do is you can look at shadows, and it will give you a better understanding of watching the sun. So that is what many ancient people did. They watched the sun. If you mark the tip of the pole's shadow as it moves across the sand during the day, the mark should create a line that points perfectly east and perfectly west. To minimize error, it's best to have an extremely tall gnomon. Then you can align the corners of your pyramid to match the line in the sand. Look at that. This is a description of how an ancient person, without the benefit of very precise, very sensitive magnetic tools, would be able to clearly identify the cardinal points: north, south, east, and west. So this is pretty darn important. And so take a look at this. Look at how this moves. I love these beautiful images that are meant primarily to simply identify how the world should be viewed in reference to the sun. And to me, this has always been important, always been elemental to the way that our African ancestors looked at the world. And we should do it as well, simply because we are city people, simply because we are folks that don't have as much access or familiarity with astronomy. That doesn't mean that we should not attempt to do the work that our ancestors probably did. I would argue our ancestors were probably looking at the divine drama of the movement of the heavens, that sacred as above, so below story, for possibly hundreds of thousands of years, possibly hundreds of thousands of years. And because they were able to take precise measurements, they were able to tell a lot about the nature of the universe. And so looking at this is so important. We have the spring equinox. These are rough dates, March 21st, and we have the summer solstice on December 21st, and we have the autumnal equinox on September 23rd, and then we have the summer solstice on June 21st. Notice that it shifts a little bit because we are not necessarily accounting at all times for that, the fact that the year is actually 165 1/4. And so it moves a little bit. The vernal equinox this year was on March 20th, not the 21st. We know that our ancestors were looking at this movement across the heavens, and we're thinking about the movement across the heavens because we see these symbols. We see them in New Kingdom tombs. This is my picture. They are in several tombs. And what you are noticing is the fact that the sun is being described in terms of its movements during the day. You look at the large circle there. I believe this is meant to represent not just the sun overall, but the sun at its highest point in the sky. This is what we would call the Aten or Aten Ra. And then on the left, we see the sun at as it comes out of darkness, the sun at dawn. This is Kepera. That is the beetle that the Greeks ended up calling the scarab. This is Kepera. So we have Kepera, then Aten Ra behind, and then finally that entity that looks a bit like maybe a ram or a goat. That is Kepera, Aten Ra, Amun Ra. Amun Ra is the hidden one, the one that maybe we should think of as the power of the sun completed. And so you may know that our ancestors even personified these forces, and you will see these in tombs. Just as they personified the forces, they looked at these movements as emblematic of our lives. So we begin as Kepera, we mature into Aten Ra, and when we are about to close our eyes finally, we are Amun Ra or Amen Ra. And this is so powerful. You know that even in our shrine, we used to just chant this: Keper Ra, Aten Ra, Amen Ra. Keper Ra, Amen Ra, Aten Ra. And this was something we would also sing in the round as another Hesi. And it is magnificent when you understand that these are ideas that your African ancestors brought into the world thousands of years ago. And we are just beginning to understand their importance today. As you look at this image that is purported to be a very European looking Jesus Christ, I want you to recognize that you often see what people tell you is a halo. Sure, it's a halo, but what is a halo? A halo is a crown that is made of the sun. It is the sun. We see the sun behind the head of Jesus with the cross on it. I want you to hear me when I say this. Those people who were making these images recognize that Jesus was meant to be a solar deity. They understood it. They understood it. But unfortunately, those people who are the average practitioners have no access to the deeper meanings of these traditions. And that deeper meaning is something that was explicitly available to practitioners in the ancient African traditions that come out of the dusky soils of ancient Kemet. That is what we are seeing. That is why Jesus or Yeshua or whatever other name you want to use is depicted in this manner. And I know that when you speak to those people that you love, perhaps your parents or your grandparents who are still part of the Christian church, they will bristle at trying to be told that Jesus was never meant to be a literal figure. You must understand that there are too many similarities with the knowledge that comes from ancient Kemet, not to say that Jesus, and I mean no disrespect in this whatsoever, is a poor echo of the Kemetic tradition. That is what we are seeing. That is what we are seeing. This is astrotheology, described by the world's first spiritual people that ever wrote a word on the page. I'm not saying they were the first spiritual people in the world. I'm saying they were the first spiritual people to be able to write down their ideas. That is the Kemetic priest. They took these understandings to one of their highest levels, and thankfully they had a written language so that we are able to see what they meant. Look at these people. This is all of a good portion of the shrine of Ma'at, along with that elder Mfundishi's shrine together. I want to say that this is actually at the fall equinox several years ago, together celebrating. Take a look at these images. You're gonna see people who are members of the shrine. Right off the bat, I see Jehuti Mess. I see Justin. I even see right there, the third person on that screen is Hemnetter Jamar. Look at him, who come to us out of Strong Island. We see so many of our members, and I'm standing there with Mfundishi with some beautiful altars. This was a wonderful day, and I hope that we can find a way to have many more of them. There were so many of us there that I'm going to tell you, the funny thing is that there were tons of Tomhu there, and they were just standing on the side with their mouths open like this. And they thankfully were humble enough not to ask to be in the midst of everything, which is what so many of them actually do. They make these gatherings about themselves. They make our story about themselves. They just watched respectfully. But it was so funny. There were so many of them there. Looking at this picture, you would never know it because they at least recognized that what they were supposed to be doing is just trying to take in as much as they could. What a day. What a day. We need to do these again. So I ask you, what does this mean? This is not meant to be simply a discussion of the movements of our Earth around the sun. What is the deeper meaning of the solstices and equinoxes? Where should we get, what should we take from this? Beloved, I want to say to you that one of the most powerful things that we can do is begin to recognize that just as our ancestors practiced the divine as above, so below, so should we. And in doing that, we should recognize that we should prepare to go into these periods. I always say that the solstices and the equinoxes are grand dramas that help us know how we should even behave with each other. On an equinox, imagine that we have equal day and equal night. This is divine balance. And there are no practitioners in the world that think about balance more than those who are practitioners of Ma'at. In many ways, you could call the spiritual practices of Kemet Ma'at. These days, when someone says what spiritual form I'm in, sometimes I tell them, Wat Ma'at, the way of Ma'at. That's what our spirituality could be called. We can say Kemetic spirituality, but to some degree, even that title is not as precise as Wat Ma'at. Even that spiritual title is not the one that allows us to understand that we're not just talking about a tradition from Kemet. How about Kush? But when you do that much explanation about where it was, to some degree, what you end up doing is getting away from what it was and by extension is. Our tradition is about finding balance. Well, I want to say to you that one of the ways that we have attempted to find balance in our tradition, and in this instance, I don't want to talk about moral or social balance, but just a little bit today about the balance that we must maintain within our bodies, is that practitioners of the Kemetic tradition have often thought about what to do when the solstices and equinoxes occur. And one of the things that we do is often fasting. During the whole period of a cycle, during an entire period of a season, very often we end up eating the lower vibrational foods, particularly in the winter. How many times were you someplace cold and you knew, you were like, oh my goodness, it's cold, I'm tired, I haven't gotten enough sun, I'm running around working, I'm running around with family, I just want to eat what is easy and tastes good. And you find yourself eating something that you know you necessarily shouldn't eat. You find yourself eating those things that are constipating. Let's be very frank about it. Those things that in some instances, in larger dosages, could lead to your demise. Well, it's time for you, as you get to this point in the season, to flush that out. It's really important to think about fasting. Well, look at this image. What are you seeing here? Can anyone tell me what they are seeing? What is this? Oh, let me say Ankan Ma'at to Monwasha Edu, that wonderful couple that is here. We murr you, initiates of the Shrine of Ptah, folks that are in this tradition with us, the creators of Akoma Day. Ankan Ma'at to both of you, Ankan Ma'at. They have an anonymous name, as you see. It is essentially their name merged. That wonderful couple. We love them so much. Well, no one's answering my question. What is this? What do you think it is? The fasting Buddha. The fasting Buddha. Why? Well, you should understand that in some of these descriptions, what actually happens is we see the Buddha not represented in many ways as we sometimes hear him called the happy Buddha, the one that is large and fat and all of that. But instead, what you're seeing is a Buddha that is supposed to be one that is emaciated. That is emaciated. A Buddha where you see his eyes are gaunt. You can see that they're sunken. You can look at his neck and see all the tendons, and you can see all of the bones. Essentially, what this was, I will honestly say to you that I do not believe that anyone should get to this point. And I don't think that that was the point of this. The concept was that Buddha had been in meditation for so long that the physical had become less important than that connection to the divine essence of the universe. And so we see this image of the fasting Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama. That's what this is meant to represent. Many people have never even seen these images. They've only seen that large, happy, fat one that's laughing. But this one is also common. I just saw this one yesterday. I passed by this one. I took a look at the what do you call it? I went to do a tour for my students at Hunter of the Metropolitan Museum, and I saw this one. It is less popular because it is missing its head. But recognize that this is what we're seeing. They are much more common than you think. Much more common than you think. Divine Seeker says he almost died, had to get milk from a young woman before his full Buddhahood. I believe he got enlightened soon after this. There are many stories in the story of Buddha that describe the fact that he is more focused on moral and spiritual attainment than in the maintenance of his physical form. And so this is where this comes from. Fasting is very common in the spiritual world. Very common. And I don't want you to miss the fact that what does he have behind his head? Did you miss that? Did you miss it? Well, I want to say that this particular image may be from Pakistan, but it is Buddha fasting. There are so many of these. Take a look at this one. This one is in ebony black, but you are seeing once again Buddha in meditation. In meditation. I doubt that you'll be able to clearly read this one. Yeah, maybe it is. An image of the Buddha seated cross-legged in the attitude subduing himself by fasting. This image, which shows the Greek title of Gandhara. Did you know that there were Greeks that actually practiced Buddhism? Did you know that? There's so much for us to learn. Did you know that? Style of Gandhara sculptures was cast after a stone original kept in the museum at Lahore, Pakistan. Yes, very often you'll see these fasting Buddha statues in Pakistan. Fascinating, fascinating. So I want us to think about how important the medicinal use in food was in ancient Kemet. And I want us to think about the fact in our last Kemetic Ascension, we were talking about the fact that the idea of a fast, a 40-day fast, is Kemetic. And that many early Christians railed against Christians doing any sort of 40-day fast or 40-day moderated diet during the period that we now know as Lent, because it didn't come from them. And they were acknowledging that the first issuance, the first story they could find where anyone was doing this, were practitioners who were doing this to honor Asar. You should understand that this does not come from them. And sometimes I would argue, when you look at people who have gotten some of these ideas through transmission, there's something that is missing, just like you're playing an international spiritual game of telephone. Something is missing from the strongest, oldest story. So what should we know about how food should be used as medicine in ancient Kemet? You're seeing an image, I love this image, from the tomb of Senedjem. You see Senedjem and his wife getting sustenance from the plant world. Do you see this tree Nitert? She is giving them sustenance. These images are much more common in Kemet than you know. You see people receiving the sustenance from the plant world. By the way, what kind of tree is that? Can you tell what kind of tree that is? I know that you probably don't see them in the West, but we should even become students of how these depictions are occurring. What is that building they are kneeling on? Did you notice that? These are things that we should become students of so that we can understand exactly what our ancient African ancestors were doing. This is important. Well, let's read. The medicinal importance of food in ancient Kemet. Well, some of the ways that we can find this is we'll notice that the 6th dynasty court physician and high priest Pepi Ankh was the high priest Pepi Ankh, known as Iri, was the doctor to the Nesubit's belly, and he was also an eye doctor. Can you imagine that the king had a doctor that was supposed to be the master for his belly? This means that he's supposed to be practicing and studying how they could actually feed the king things that would improve his vital energies. I see some of you giving some answers. Is it a pomegranate? Is it a date? I believe that these are dates. I have seen dates in Kemet. I believe that is a date tree. And by the way, until I went to Kemet, I had never eaten them fresh. I'd only eaten them dry. But I also couldn't believe that they could also, Anthony Jones says they could be figs. They look very similar to figs to me as well. Anyway, I think that this is beautiful. But I'm going to tell you, eating a fig, eating a date. By the way, if you're eating the fresh ones for dessert, there's so much fiber and so many other things in it that it is a healthy thing to eat. And I think more of us should eat them. But shortly after I ate them fresh in Kemet, I began to see them being actually imported into the United States. So you'll actually see the the figs coming to us from you go to a store like Whole Foods and you'll see them, and they're absolutely beautiful. So let's continue. Aladdin Shaheen, a professor of archaeology at Cairo University, states that the Kemetic people often resorted to fasting that could last for 3 days or so in order to enhance their health. Sometimes the things that we eat are literally killing us slowly. And so the fast allows the body to remove toxins instead of being overwhelmed by the amount of stuff we keep stuffing into it. It is helpful sometimes to refrain from eating. Many plant-based medicinal cures in Kemet included date seeds to treat cancer, and also fennel, which was called bes, and watermelon. There were many descriptions of what you might eat to enhance your health. Here's another one of those images. And I love this one. Why? Because you see the husband, priest, and wife sitting there receiving sustenance from the divine world. And you can see that their souls are drinking from its roots as well. Do you notice the bowbirds at the bottom of the tree? Did you notice that? So they're receiving both physical sustenance and sustenance for their souls. I think that's beautiful. See that these are themselves as well, with bird bodies. By the way they make them look, it almost looks like they're grasshoppers, but I'm quite sure these are meant to be, these are the bowbird. So their souls are drinking and their physical bodies are drinking as well. And then, of course, we see a Sar, who in many ways is one of the ways that we should understand that our Kemetic ancestors are telling us that particularly the plant world and the foods that we can eat are to sustain us. Notice the green face of a Sar. He is connected to the cycles of the earth. Connected to the cycles of the earth. And I think that is beautiful. And you should know that these deities are fertility deities. The term that's often used is chthonic deities. And they are connected to the cycles of the earth and thusly the cycles of our lives. And this is why we see Asar dying and being reborn. This is why we see in his tomb, we often see that tombs would have small dishes shaped like Asar, where they would have soil on it, and they would plant some seeds, water the seeds, and place it in the tomb, understanding that eventually they would grow, because this is an acceleration of the process of death and rebirth, similar to the one that we hope we all go through when we close our eyes on the physical plane. And so this is part of that concept. Here's a piece from Ancient Egypt, Light of the World by Gerald Massey. Listen to how he describes Lent and fasting. He says, now fasting for the sake of the dead, in the most primitive sense, was going without food that it might be given to the ghost or spirit ancestors. This was no doubt the motive for the Haker festival of the Egyptians, when the provisions were laid upon the altar as an offering to Osiris in his coffin. The word Haker denotes both a festival and a fast. It also signifies starving, and starving with the view of giving the food thus saved to the spirits of the dead would be a really religious sacrifice. That this festival that was celebrated by starving or fasting on behalf of the dead comes to its culmination in the season of Lent as a fast of 40 days. In this, originally, the food of the living would be given as a sacrificial offering to the dead, and or the ancestral spirits, or to the God who gave his life in food for men and animals. So I want you to understand that this is something that our Kemetic ancestors did, this spiritual fasting that allowed us to also give offering to those who had made their transition. Keep in mind that today there is a fast that many people on the planet are undertaking that is connection to the death and rebirth of Jesus. But this is an echo of those ceremonies that were connected to the death and rebirth of Asar. This is important. And Gerald Massey, in his book, Ancient Egypt, Light of the World, describes it. He continues, here the Egyptian Lent or season of fasting for 40 days is in the true position, as it is followed and did not precede the death of Osiris. To have any real meaning, the fast which was ordained as a sacrifice of food for the dead was naturally celebrated after and not before the death, which constitute a funeral offering and to make that spirit live. Going without the food and giving it as a sacrificial offering to the dead assuredly affords the proper explanation of the funeral festival that was celebrated as a solemn fast, which finally passed into the Christian Eucharist. He is saying that communion is also connected to this idea. Powerful to understand that these practices are but echoes of the traditions of our ancient ancestors. Where is this written? You can read it in Ancient Egypt, Light of the World, written in 1907 by Gerald Massey. The Greek historian Herodotus also says the Egyptians are the healthiest of men, since each 3 month for 3 days they conduct purification by vomiting and enemas. Believe that a person receives illnesses through food. I have not seen any recognition of a ceremony that includes a practice that includes vomiting and enemas. But I do know that what he is saying is that the Kemetic people were meant to actually believe that they should actually refrain from food and release toxins from their body. I think the process of vomiting to do this is dangerous to our bodies, and I have not seen that in the Kemetic tradition. What are some of the things that we use? I'm going to go through this very quickly, and if you become an initiate of the shrine, you will hear more. Some of the products we use are golden seal, one of the most bitter things that you could possibly put into your mouth, but it helps you flush the mucosal membrane of your body. We use psyllium husk, not facilium, but psyllium husk, which is one of those things that you drink with water and it goes into your colon, into your intestine, and expands so that it helps clean out those things that are left behind. I can't play this because they will cut me off, but I want you to recognize that the things that we use are even referenced in what we would call popular representations. You might remember, if you are a Marvel fan, if you were watching Iron Man, in the first movie, he creates that arc reactor that is in his chest in order for him to be able to, are we blocking the bottom of my pic? Oh, I am. Yeah, but you're not seeing anything. If you look at that, you're not missing anything, but I could do that. You'll see it there. Essentially what you're seeing is him drinking this green juice, because as he figured out how to save himself and power he would create this Iron Man suit that will allow him to escape, that same arc reactor was putting heavy metals into his bloodstream and it was killing him. So in that movie, as a hint, we see him continue to drink green juice. And the green juice helps leach heavy metals from your system. If you're concerned about heavy metals, you should be taking psyllium husk. You should be actually taking in chlorella. You should be taking in chlorophyll. These are things that you can get and add to your fast. This is important. So what should you be doing? Most Kemetic people, oh, I'm not going to play it. They're going to cut me off. They're going to cut me off if I do it. But here, that was the scene from Iron Man that shows his fasting, right? Not fasting, that shows him using the green juice to save his darn life. Very important. Well, I'm going to give you this and then we'll close. When you do your fast, what most people do in the Kemetic tradition is we don't not eat anything. Most of what we do is we eat only fresh fruits and vegetables at a time. And there's another time that we only drink fresh fruits, fresh fruit or vegetable juice. And it helps your body to regain its ability to purge toxins. I'm going to just give you this. This is the salad dressing created by the Shrine of Ma'at. It's called the Simply Ma'at salad dressing. And then we'll close. I want you to think about the fact that for so many years, practitioners of the Kemetic tradition would fast for the equinox and fast for the solstices. Sometimes those fasts would just be a week. Sometimes they'd just be a few days. But regardless of what you do, it is better than cramming those foods into your system that are slowly killing you. So here's the Simply Ma'at salad dressing if you're going to eat your fresh fruits and mostly fresh salads of fresh vegetables. I usually use a cup of cold pressed extra virgin olive oil, EVOO. I also include 2 tablespoons of fresh lemon juice, 2 tablespoons of Bragg liquid aminos. This is a substitute for salt, by the way. Or you could use a teaspoon of Himalayan rock salt or sea salt. I prefer the liquid amino Braggs because it has the building blocks for proteins, for amino acids. Then I have 3 cloves of garlic that are pressed, 2 tablespoons of fresh chopped basil or cilantro, and 3 raw okras that are chopped. This gives it its sticky, I don't want to say slimy. I already said it. It's sticky consistency. And you shake it well, and you can stick it in a bottle and use it on your salads. This is going to enhance its flavor. For so many of us, we're eating all of these processed foods. And one of the things that these processed foods are doing is they are prepared so that they reach your taste buds, but they also have been created so that they have very little nutrition because higher nutrition is more expensive. So what do? They give you a bunch of empty calories that reach your taste buds, so you like how they taste, but you're not actually nourishing yourself. And it's also the reason why we have a challenge with obesity in the United States, because we're eating a lot of stuff that ain't good for us. And we continue to eat more of it because we are not getting sustenance. Low nutrition, high calories. Big problem. So please, for this season, entertain yourself for at least a few days with nothing more than what comes from the plant world. Go in there and eat those things that are going to sustain you. Grab your lettuces, grab your kale, put some wonderful okra on there, put some incredible avocado in there. Put all of these things together. I know that Baba Paor, who was Baba Heru's brother, would say that we would try our best not to mix the fruits and vegetables, but we were both guilty of putting nice ripe slices of mango in there. And all of these things were absolutely going to restore our health and vitality. I just want you to think for a moment about what you should do as a practitioner. How in the world will you be best prepared for the battle that is here and the increasing battle that is coming? You must sustain yourself, not just simply socially. Restore ma'at to those people who you transgressed upon, not just morally. Make right those things that you know that you have not done wrong, that you have not done right, but also restore yourself in terms of your health and your constitution so that you will have the energy to go into battle. We need you. We need you. And the ancestors have mandated that we are those who have come forward to complete their work. I'm hoping that today you're going to take a moment and prepare yourself so that your health is your wealth, and so that you are prepared to restore yourself in this new season. With that, I want to say the divine force in me greets the divine force in you. And as we have our final affirmation, I'm going to continue with the same one from our Hesi. Rupu Nuku, Amiku, Kemam Keperu, and Entir Hayu. I am that I am, a shining being, created from the limbs of divinity. Twanter, thank you to the divine. Family, go forth and do the work you must do. Shemen Ma'at, please move forward in balance, and we will see you soon. Peace.